Well, a federal judge presiding over Trump's election interference case has agreed to pause all upcoming deadlines after special counsel Jack Smith requested it. Smith and the DOJ are trying to figure out the best way to wind down the election case as well as the classified documents case. The decision is based on longstanding Department of Justice policy that a sitting president cannot face criminal prosecution while in office. The government will file a status report on otherwise inform the court of the result of its deliberations by December 2nd. The Georgia case against Donald Trump for allegedly conspiring to interfere with the 2020 election will go on hold until after the term of office ends. Let's do this here. First of all, also on Tuesday, Judge Juan Merchan will decide whether to grant Trump's pre-election request to throw out his conviction on 34 felony counts in New York. If Merchan sides with Trump, it would almost wipe clean his slate of criminal cases. If he upholds the conviction, he will proceed to sentencing later this month. However, that will likely spark more delay attempts from Trump and open up an unprecedented new front for America's criminal justice system. Go to my panel. Michael Imhotep hosts African History Network show out of Detroit, Killer Bethea Communication Strategist out of D.C., Matt Manning, Civil Rights Attorney out of Corpus Christi. So, and you know what? And we're going to talk about Ellie Mister or some other stuff, but he's a justice correspondent with The Nation. So let's just go ahead and bring him in on this too. Matt, this is real simple. This punk got away with it. He got away with it. This was slow. Attorney General Merrick Garland should be ashamed of himself because his delays allowed this to happen, allowed them to run the clock out. This man, and frankly, I hope the judge in New York doesn't throw the charges out. I hope he proceeds with sentencing because one, he hasn't been sworn in yet. He right now, I don't give a damn he's president-elect. He has not been sworn in. And so that needs to happen. And what it will say is, yeah, you could go ahead and break the law. What it will say is Donald Trump is absolutely above the law.
Exactly. I mean, we already know that the justice system does not treat your average citizen the same way it treats wealthy citizens, let alone people who are of lower socioeconomic status. That's just the truth of the justice system. But not allowing a sentencing to go forward in this circumstance could not be a clearer message that there is another half who lives differently than you do, meaning you can get convicted of a felony, not only a felony. I was talking about this at the barbershop today. This is a fraud, right? So it's a crime of moral turpitude, which is a crime involving dishonesty, deceit, lying, that kind of thing. Those are the kinds of crimes, even on the misdemeanor level, that tend to stick with people more than other crimes, even more so sometimes than violent crimes, because there is a legal finding that you were dishonest or deceitful or what have you. So to not sentence him in this case because he's the president-elect, when one, there's sufficient time to do so, two, he was convicted of 34 counts, and three, it's a crime of moral turpitude, would send a very clear message that he is above the law. And the problem with the rule of law is we know that gets thrown around as a term when it relates to generally when white and conservative people want to be applying that on anybody else that they don't think is a part of their ilk. But this is the circumstance where Merchan needs to do the right thing and sentence him. The federal cases in terms of the custom and not going forward on a case with a sitting president, that may be the DOJ's, practice. And I do think that some of those delays have clearly, contributed to this circumstance. But as it relates to that case where he's already been found guilty of 34 felony counts, I don't think there's really a defensible reason for not sentencing him. I understand that there will be some difficulties with actually upholding that sentence. I mean, there's not a likelihood he's sending him to jail. But the reality is it sends the message that he's above the law. And we already know that that's what we're seeing him say, right. Frankly. The legal system only works if it applies to you. It doesn't work if it applies to me. But this would be proof positive of that from a sitting judge. And I don't think he should go that route. I think you should sentence him.
Here's the other deal, Michael. Why is Georgia delaying their case? That happened before.
Yeah.
That's a state case. That is not federal. And let's be real honest. The Department of Justice, they are basing this on a memo. A memo that was written in the Nixon administration to apply to that who was likely going to be a convicted felon Nixon. And so I don't understand. See, I don't get the weakness here. They do not have, it is not, everybody listening, let me be very clear. It is not in the United States Constitution that a president cannot be criminally charged. It's not in the Constitution. It's not a House rule. It's not a Senate rule. This is literally a memo written by the Nixon Department of Justice. And I don't know what Georgia is doing. Georgia should proceed because that is a state case.
Yeah, I think Georgia should proceed. And this memo is not in U.S. criminal code either. So I think this memo should have been revoked, especially when you have somebody as corrupt as Donald Trump. I think he should be sentenced in the New York case because, ironically, the New York case that Alvin Branch prosecuted, that was tied to the 2016 election and covering up the payoff to Stormy Daniels and falsifying business records, right, to cover up the payoff so that she wouldn't speak and interfere with the 2016 election. So, yeah, I think they should go ahead with the sentencing. I don't know what the penalty would be, but I think they should go ahead with the sentencing and show still, you're still not above the law. OK, not 100%. So, we'll see what happens here. But yeah, he's getting away with a lot of this. But the other thing is, Roland, he will probably pardon the January 6th insurrectionists also. OK, which is something on a whole nother level of white privilege and extremely dangerous, showing that you can assault Capitol Hill police officers. You can attack the U.S. Capitol. You can try to interfere with the certification of the election results, the Electoral College election results, things like this. You could do all that. And then the person who incited you, he's going to give you a presidential pardon.
Kelly?
So but at the same time, he wants to give police officers 100% immunity from criminal prosecution.
Kelly?
Yeah. Oh,
Kelly?
Yeah. I think I'm just over it at this point. Of all the people to delay processes, you would think that Merrick Garland, of all people, would know not to do that. He is a victim of delayed processes. He should be on the Supreme Court. And because of delayed processes and inaction, he's not. And now he's at the helm of convicting or sentencing a felon, and he is deliberately delaying those processes so that justice will not prevail in this instance as well. So there's no true rationale for it. There's no logic to it. My gut reaction is that it's possible that the reason for the delays is that because he is president-elect and he has all but sworn on a Bible that he will come after his political opponents and those who disagree with him. Maybe people are actually afraid because this time he truly has no guardrails. You have the Senate, you've got the House, you've got Supreme Court, all red, and now you have Donald Trump, who is redder than red. So it's possible that people are running scared and trying to protect themselves in lieu of, frankly, just doing their jobs. I am disgusted by the cowardice and the inaction and lack of a better word, the pussyfooting around that has been happening for months. But we're here now. And like you said on Tuesday, we will learn. We tried to tell you.
Ellie, I was one of the people who publicly said that President-elect Joe Biden should have picked former Alabama Senator Doug Jones to be his attorney general. I thought he was going to be a hell of a lot more aggressive. Merrick Garland will go down as one of the worst attorney generals because of his abject failure to hold Donald Trump accountable?
Yes. Merrick Garland is the worst pick in 2 successive Democratic administrations, and that's got to be a record of some sort, right? Because he was the worst person that Obama could have picked to replace Antonin Scalia in 2015, and in 2016, and he was the worst person Joe Biden could have picked to be the Attorney General, and Joe Biden stuck with him even after it became apparent that Merrick Garland was not up to the job, was not up to the task, was not up to the moment. And Merrick Garland is one of the true villains of this cycle. Merrick Garland is one of the true bad guys that brought us Trump to Electric Boogaloo, right? Like that's just reality. But in response to some of the things I was hearing while I was in the waiting room, you know, the question of whether or not Trump is above the law, he is. Trump is above the law. He shouldn't be. I disagree. I agree with everything said. It's not in the Constitution. It's not how this country is supposed to run. But it is how it runs. He is above the law. He won. He got away with it. And at some point, I almost need people to see it, right? I almost need them to understand what this country is, understand the depravity of this country, understand the privilege white people enjoy. Because I think as I, pour through the election results like all of y'all, I think one of the kind of macro lessons that I'm getting is that people really don't get it. People really don't get people don't get what they've done. People don't get what's about to happen. People are in denial. People are in kind of Pollyanna land. Nah, bro. The president, Trump, is above nobody else, but Trump can do whatever he wants, and he will do whatever he wants. And there ain't no law coming to save us. There ain't no attorney general. There ain't no guardrails coming to constrain him. The only thing that stops him is organized, desperate resistance. And I don't mean wearing a pink pussy hat, right? The time for that is over. I don't mean hashtag not my president. I don't mean that crap. I mean the kind of resistance that our ancestors put down. That's what it's going to take to get this country back. And it ain't going to happen in 4 years. It ain't going to happen in 8 years. You're talking about, and I've been talking to my family about this, you're talking about planting seeds in a garden that we will not live to see bear fruit. All right? We're talking about needing a plan to take this country back in 2050, in 2060, because we are entering a time of consequences. And so, yeah, sentence him, don't sentence him. If it makes people feel better to put that marker down that at least he was sentenced, fine. I don't have a problem with that, obviously. But the reality is these people are punks. The people who were supposed to hold Trump accountable are punks. They're afraid of him. They're afraid of his movement. They're afraid of his people. And so there are no guardrails. There are no restraints. There are no restrictions on what this man can do. He is an emperor in all but name.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.